that we have the chat. We sincerely thank each one of you to join who have joined us today. And before beginning, I would just like to place our discussion today in a proper regional context. It is now my honor to invite Mr. Balu Iyer, Regional Director, International Cooperative Alliance, Asia Pacific, to deliver the opening remark on the theme Cooperative at the Front Line of Climate and Disaster Resilience. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Shrija, and our distinguished speakers, colleagues, representative of member organizations, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to today's webinar on the theme Cooperatives at the Front Line of Climate and Disaster Resilience. I would like to thank the ICA-AP Committee on Agriculture and Environment for conceptualizing and organizing this timely and important discussion. A special word of welcome and appreciation to our keynote speakers and panelists joining us today from across the region. Professor Supal Singh, with your expertise and extensive work in the areas of agricultural institutions, rural development and policy, we are especially privileged to benefit from your insights concerning policy pathways for strengthening cooperative resilience. I would also like to warmly welcome Mr. Arun Babu from ULCCS, Ms. Lourdes Dioscon from AgriCorp Philippines, and Professor Akira Kurimoto, Senior Fellow at the Japan Cooperative Alliance, who will be sharing their valuable cooperative experiences and practical lessons from the ground on how cooperatives have responded to climate-related challenges and disasters. As Shrija mentioned in her opening, climate change is a present-day reality affecting communities, livelihoods, food systems, and economy across the Asia-Pacific region. The numbers are telling, and I'll add to what Shrija also mentioned. Climate-related disasters in 2024 affected more than 167 million people worldwide and caused economic losses approaching 242 billion US dollars, with Asia Pacific continuing to be one of the most vulnerable regions. Climate-linked displacement has also surged dramatically, with over 32 million people internally displaced in Asia Pacific in a single year due to weather-related events such as floods, cyclone, and storms. The agriculture sector, which supports millions of cooperative members across the region, is also particularly vulnerable. According to the FAO, disasters have caused more than 3.2 trillion in losses to global agriculture over the past 3 decades, with Asia accounting for nearly half these losses. These are sobering reminder of the scale of vulnerability facing our farmers, producers, fishers, and rural communities. And the region today faces multiple and overlapping pressures: rising temperatures and extreme weather events, prolonged drought and floods, declining water availability, sea level rise affecting island and coastal communities, and increasing uncertainty in agricultural production system. And the ICA-AP Asia Pacific region spans from the Middle East all the way to the Pacific Island countries. So all our countries are affected in one way or the other. At the same time, we are witnessing global developments that are further increasing vulnerability. The ongoing conflicts and geopolitical tensions have contributed to rising fertilizer prices, disruption in supply chains, and increased production costs to farmers. Several countries in Asia Pacific are also preparing for below normal monsoon predictions and possible effect of a super El Nino cycle, which could significantly affect agriculture, food security, and rural livelihoods. So why does this particularly matter to cooperatives? Because cooperatives are deeply embedded in the sectors and communities most vulnerable to climate shocks. The Asia-Pacific region is home to nearly 70% of the world's family farmers, while small-scale producers generate close to 80% of the region's food. Across the region, cooperatives are heavily concentrated in agriculture, fisheries, forestry, livestock, and allied activities, with members comprising Small and marginal farmers, women producers, fishers, and informal workers whose livelihoods are directly dependent on climate-sensitive ecosystems. As we know, when climate disasters strike, crops fail, supply chains break down, debt rises, migration increases, burden on women multiplies, and entire communities become vulnerable. For cooperatives, this is therefore not simply an environmental issue, it is a livelihood issue, a food security issue, a social protection issue, and an increasingly a survival and resilient issue. Yet at the same time, cooperatives have repeatedly demonstrated their unique strengths during crisis. Our speakers today, through their experiences and with examples, will share how cooperatives organize collective risk-taking, providing emergency supplies and credit, support livelihood recovery, adopt climate-smart agricultural practices, and strengthen local preparedness. So our discussion today is therefore not only about understanding climate risk, it is about exploring how cooperatives can become stronger institutions of resilience, adaptation, preparedness, and recovery. It is also about identifying what policy frameworks, partnership, investment, and institutional support systems are needed to strengthen cooperative resilience in the years ahead. So I too hope that today's webinar will provide practical lessons from the ground, encourage peer learning across countries, stimulate policy thinking, and inspire greater investment in climate resilient cooperative development. And given we have, I see on the participant list, members present from across our region. So I do hope that apart from our speakers sharing their experiences in the open discussion, we will hear from your respective countries on the situation and how cooperatives are contributing. So I'd like to acknowledge and thank Srija Sinha, Secretary of the ICA-AP Committee on Agriculture and Environment, for the effort and coordination in organizing today's webinar. I once again thank all the speakers and participants for joining us and look forward to a rich and meaningful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing the regional picture of climate change and the disaster it has induced and how cooperatives could act as a resilient institution. Thank you once again. We now move to our first keynote speaker, which brings us a story of extraordinary cooperative heroism, the Wayanad Rehabilitation Project. In July 2024, the Wayanad landslide claimed over 400 lives and displaced thousands of families, leaving the entire communities devastated. At the heart of the recovery effort stood the ULCCS, one of the India's most celebrated workers-owned cooperative. ULCCS stepped forward not merely as a construction agency but as a community partner committed to rebuilding lives with dignity. Our first keynote speaker is Mr. Arun Babu, Chief Operating Officer of ULCCS, and he also heads the Wayanad Rehabilitation Project. Mr. Babu brings decades of experience and expertise in infrastructure planning, transportation engineering, and sustainable construction. Mr. Babu will be speaking to us on cooperative heroes in climate action, lessons from Wayanad Rehabilitation Project, ULCCS India. Babu sir, over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Welcome
And
all.
if you could please share
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
I need to share the presentation, right?
No, no, ma'am. No, sir.
You will be sharing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, fine.
just
Yeah.
a minute.
Good afternoon, all. Welcome all, distinguished speakers and the audience. Now, we are one of the largest workers-owned cooperative from southern part of India, Kerala, and called ULCCS, Uralangal Labor Contract Cooperative Society. So we established about 100 years back, 1925. So we crossed our 100-year last year. So in between, we have been gone through recently because beyond 2010, there were a lot of incidents where our employees and workers shown extraordinary commitments in managing the disasters, especially not only disasters, epidemic like COVID, and then Oki, then tsunami, then 2018 flood, then last early this Wayanad rehabilitation, not Wayanad landslide. So next slide. Yeah. So that is the content given for the presentation structure. I will not explain on these things. We can go to the next. Next. Yeah, see the disaster context in India. So from the ULCCS perspective, we work within Kerala, which is having about 550 kilometer of coastal region, and the width of the land is about 100 kilometer. And one side it is Western Ghats, which is very vulnerable to the landslides and the earthquake. So India, if you consider India, around more than 50% of the landmass is susceptible to the earthquake and landslide. So that is one of the biggest thing. And our one side is like India got around 7,500 coastal line, but then Kerala also got about 10% of the coastal line, which is about 550 to 600 kilometer. So where this natural disaster and so erosion is a common thing where hundreds of people get displaced every year. So anyhow, I don't want to explain all those things. I will go to the next. Next. So wherever this disaster happens, the people, the affected people are, suffered with immediate survival and displacement because they go through acute traumatic incidents. We even in landslide, even hours within hours, our people have reached the site and started helping them. But then for the helping people as well as the affected people, it is very traumatic. And loss of there are 3 or 4 bridges have been taken away by the flood, apart from more than 700 600 houses, small big, and then entire sanitation breakdown. Hello. And then their income has been lost, livelihood has been wiped out because all agricultural land has been gone. And only the pre before this landslide, this stream, we can't call it as a river. It was hardly 15 to 20 meter wide, and then after landslide, it was 100 to 150 meter wide. So we can sense the disaster which affected the people. Next. So role of cooperatives, because we always believe that we are all next. We can go to the next. So our presence is local. So we know the local issues, communities, their sentiments very well. So rapid mobilization is possible from the because cooperative got our main strength is our people. So rapid mobilization is very easy. Local knowledge, we have the local knowledge and trust. And then apart from that, we worked all along Kerala. We know how the terrain acts when to be intervened, and then we have the equipments, we have the people, ready 24/7. And then another thing that cooperatives as being present for many years, they got a long-term commitment rather than getting short-term benefits. And then beyond this disaster, there are many activities. Bring the people together, give them the hope, give them the reason to live by interacting with them, arranging seminars or group discussions or related activities to bring back them to the life. And some of I don't limit my experience within in the Wayanad project. Even during COVID, our team were establishing oxygen plants in many of the hospitals where people were reluctant to come out. And in 2018 flood, and after flood, nobody was ready to get into the houses. So including our chairman and people went and lived in those areas, cleaned houses, sanitized, and then given back to the original condition where people were happy. And these activities were, well acclaimed by the government as well as the people. So we are with the people rather than, beyond the people. Next. See, we are now around 7,170 crore active portfolio projects are there. We like more than 100 years, since 1925. And then active projects are about 490. You know that many of the cooperatives, not corporates, 8,000 crore project will be 1 or 2 projects only. But for us, this 7,000 or 8,000 crore comes from about 500 projects. You know that the way we function actually. So the humongous number of projects shows our commitment towards society, where other contractor may not be interested, but then we intend to serve the society. So we take even a culvert, at a remote area where other contractors may not be interested. We go there, do it because it serves the public and the society. It may be an utmost necessity for the people. So you see the average, project is about 10 crore only. So that is very meager. But then from the social point of view, we act like that. And then we have certain standard sets where we will not use the normal cement, where the cement manufacturing is so costly, like we call it as OPC, ordinary Portland cement, where the cement content is so high, where you need more curing, your process is uh, require a lot of electricity and then resources, where we replace these with inert material like PPC cement, porcelain cements, which mix with fly ash, which is actually a greener product. The cement becomes more greener as we are using wastages of steel and then power units. So these saves a lot of tons of CO2, where we contribute to the nature. And then many of the projects we replace conventional working system or construction system with the innovative solutions, where the virgin material usage will be substantially reduced. So we have a research wing supported by South India's biggest uh, uh, biggest testing laboratory, which is accredited with more than 1,000 tests. So we also established connection with IITs and NITs, established Transnational Research Center, where the new sustainable technology and material will be tested among our construction project, because mostly these IITs and research facilities lacks the practical output. And then we are trying to fill that gap and then bring out more sustainable material and technology. Next. So one of the, apart from, I'm just putting up another project, which is Alappuzha Changanasheri, 24 kilometer, which is about 600 crore project, passing through marshy area close to the coastal. And the marine clay depth is about 50 to 60 meter, where construction cost was so high. Government was intending to do this one about 750 to 800 crore. We actually reduced the cost by more than 30%. And then the way we did is, I may be using more technical terms, sorry, but then RCC integral precast bridges, where construction timing has been reduced considerably along with the sizes because of the peculiar design, special designs we integrated. Apart from that, there were the highly compressible marine clay. Wherever when we construct the embankments, it will settle. So that settlement has to be avoided. So we used geoforms as well as geogrids, which saved more than 30,000 cubic meter of virgin material, and then that leads to about the 7,000 metric ton of CO2 savings. So that means if you go by the common man's interpretation, it is around 2,000 cars have been per year has been taken out from the road. So that much emission has been saved. So next. It's not moving. Hello. Hello.
Just a second, sir.
Yeah, some of the photo. Yeah, sure. No. You can show that photographs above. Yeah, this was the condition before this. The road was hit by flood every year. The people used to travel with the boats on the road. Now you can see the road has been made to an uninterrupted, beautiful road all along the coast. You can see the photographs. So these embankments has been constructed using soil reinforcing technology instead of whatever government proposed was using lakhs of virgin material or aggregates. So that has been replaced with the normal soil and reinforcing, geo-reinforcement. Rather, these are all very green technologies where people reluctant to accept that. Then we did research along with IIT, CRRI, and then established this one. Next. Next is another milestone project, which is Chellanam Coastal Protection near Ernakulam, Kochi, which is intent to save the life of more than 2,000 hectares, where people are residing, more than 5 ton residents were there. But rather than, they were not able to sleep since last 10 years, not more than 10 years, because of any time their houses and properties would have been taken by the sea waves. So now the government has been come up with construction of around 7 kilometer seawall, the expense of 300 crore, and where we have contributed using specialized designs using tetrapods, because most of the locations till then the government was using the broken stone taken from there and then putting it here. So, but then instead of that, we have come up with tetrapods. Even though it is concrete, we used C&D, means construction demolition waste, as well as the lesser impact cements, and then constructed in a faster phase and then completed in 2 years. So we can see how much around 26,000 of metric tons of CO2 has been saved in this project. Next. So we can see some photographs. Yeah. So above you can see the before conditions, how it was Chelanam and then how it is now. Now it's become a tourist spot and then localites able to generate income from the tourist activities also. As it is very near to Cochin city, people now use for cycling and other activities also. And a lot of people comes for watching this place. It's very beautiful now. Next. So the Wayanad tragedy, it was in July 2024. Our team was just there, just 2 days back also. It was heavily raining. That night was so devastating. And around 299 people lost their lives. Still, people are missing, more than 150. And then more than 500 houses have been lost. And these are some of the photographs, where we helped army to erect. Our people reached just after a couple of this has happened around 2:30 morning, and our people were there at morning 5:30, 6 o'clock. We were there, and then we were there for continuously for more than 15 days, helping people to recover, to rehabilitate, moving them to the shelters, giving the food and other things. So it was so overwhelming experience. But then, yeah, but the feeling was so sadful. But then we helped them from the day, and then you can see how it was. A small stream was there. The stream becomes so wider. So now that those people, the government decided to bring them together rather than disintegrating them, giving some money and go find out some places to live. Rather than that, the government decided to pay them daily wages up to 6 months, or now later it is extended to 1 year. Now it is up to June, July, it is extended till they have been completely rehabilitated. And the government decided to build a model township for them where people can interact with each other, they can forget the sorrows, come together. And then next initiative is to regain the land lost and then make it useful for agricultural purpose and give back to these people where they can go and do the agriculture activities. These two places where they are getting rehabilitated, and then this place is about 10 kilometer away. But then this model township has been planned, asked ULCCs has been taken up this complete project in as design and construction, where government has provided two or three locations. We asked to select the best one. So we selected one, and then complete survey has been done, and then planning has been done, including consultation with the disaster hit families. And then we proceeded with the costing and then further with the construction. So go to the next, I'll explain. So this is already long-term challenge: housing security, permanent land tenure, livelihood restoration, infrastructure deficit. Because that is another thing. People are suffering. So we given them the government has been planned for complete 24 hours water and then electricity, including provisions for solar powered power, which is about 3 kilowatt power will be continuously given. So normally for 1,000 square feet building, the consumption in Wayanad is about 2.5 to 3 kilowatt. So that can be completely replaced with the solar. So they don't have to pay any electricity charges. And then psychological recovery and community healing. So we planned this complete development for better co-living and then places for community interactions, and places for recreation. So everything has been planned, including some of the income generating elements are also like a marketplace, material collection center, and public toilets, because a lot of tourists come to these places. Wayanad is a tourist place, so a lot of people come to these places. There's a memorial where the people can gather and then explain their experiences and interact with tourists. That is also been planned. Next. So community social infrastructure, memorial, healing places, critical infrastructure. So I am involved in that because I think before this slide, I have been told all these things, which we are being taken up. Next. So you can see the master plan. It is about 65 hectare. Out of that, 50 hectare means around 125, 130 acre has been developed. That you can see the clusters. There is each cluster got a green space in between, where and the traffic will not be allowed, but then small cars and the people can move along, and then each cluster is the houses is facing another house, which allow people to interact, also come out and then sit along these green spaces where the children can play, and there are gym equipments and other things are also there being in the central portion. So which this entire 4 ton people, 4 ton families have been accommodated here, and some of the people have been taken money and went away. So out of 5 ton, remaining people have been accepted the offer of government, and then now almost 178 buildings have been completed, and they started occupying since last week. So these houses has been planned like not like row houses. It is a model township, and then it looks like a resort like feeling, and it has been equipped with STPs. STPs means we are rather think about bigger mechanical part, but here all STPs are anaerobic, where not even a single unit of electricity is required. So this is very natural process, which is again reused for agriculture, landscaping, and then if something is remaining, even we can leave to the streams, because that BOD has been brought down below the standards prescribed by the department. Next. So these were the images we made during the concept plan. You can see that how it is. There is 2 bedrooms and common toilets, bathroom, kitchen, living, and then sit out. So you can see the clusters, how it is developed. These are all images during the planning stage. Now we can go to the real pictures, which is now nearing the completion. Yeah. So you can see that, which is almost near to the perfection. You see the central green yard where benches, now the play equipments are to become. Once it is came, it will be installed. But and you can see even we almost excavated around 50 hectares of land. Not even a single load of material has been taken out. Everything has been used there itself. That is one biggest lessons we learned from this one, and then biggest effort was also there. We whatever excavated rock from the site has been used for retaining walls. That retaining wall also not used the extensive cement content. These are all dry rubble masonries. which allows flow of water also. They don't stagnate anywhere, but then it also allows to percolate the water. So such systems have been developed. The township has been developed using such component where the wastage has been reduced substantially. Next. So these are some of the photographs of this decentralized STPs, where the water will be purified and then discharged or to the drain, or it can be used for recycled, can be used for agriculture and other purposes. Next. So in total, the project was around 410 people will be accommodated here, and then each people will be getting 7 cents, and then along with the 1,000 square feet building, it's RCC structure, and for reducing the heat and other things inside, we used mangrove tiles and then steel tiles for certain area, not for complete area, because it can be extended to next level. If people want to construct more floors, they can do it. And then MS, like there is boundary wall, and then where vertical expansion means next floor can also be taken up. And along with that, there is about 13-kilometer roads have been constructed. These roads have been constructed using the newer technology and sustainable technology, where the usage of virgin aggregate has been reduced. We are using soil stabilizing technology, where for in 10-kilometer or 13-kilometer road, we almost saved 300 metric tons of CO2, because that is, we are not using any virgin aggregate. And then the drains and retaining wall, where we replace the steel with glass fiber reinforcement, again that is a sustainable material, where we again saved around 300 to 400 of metric ton of CO2. So health center, there is another thing, is a small health center, but then government also announced a 30-bedded hospital near to this place. And then children have been accommodated in the nearby schools by the government itself. So it's a unique rehabilitation project, where the government tried to encompass all the people together, build their life, build their livelihood. It's a classic example where government found the ULCCS is the perfect partner to implement this one, and we are delivering it on timely. So there is a community center also planned along with this, where it can be used for disaster relief also in case of any emergency. And then there is open air theaters. There is this water from the entire hill will be collected in 3 or 4 reservoirs, which is manually now developing. And on overflow, it will be flown through the natural drains available. So 4 check dams have been constructed, and the memorial already explained. And there is a football ground, and then entrance gateway, that will replicate the feeling of the people. Next. So all these things I explained. So market is there, material collection phase, waste management, recycling, segregation. So, and then around 4,000 square meter healing space or remembrance. So, and then 800% disaster shelter capacity, which will also used for community gathering and functions to be held there. Next. So I told about this STPs, decentralized STPs, where the power has been saved, also recycling of water, has been taken care using 4-stage anaerobic treatment process. This is like a cow's stomach. So the process has been similar to that, where BOD reduction, COD reduction, all solid reduction has been brought down to the appropriate norms, and which can be discharged or reused. And then there are overhead tanks where the continuous water supply will be ensured by the government. And then there are water pits and rain harvesting system, where the rainwater as well as the water from households will be collected and will be used for recharging the soil. Next. So on completion, all these resilience factors will be achieved: green building standards, climate change adaptation, because landslide restraint foundation has been constructed, as well as we reduced or balanced the cut and fill, by which we avoid any wastage of or taking out of material beyond the site specified. And then drainage system has been equipped with 4 check dams, infiltration pits, and then natural flood risk management using bioengineering like wet river plantations and geogreens, where the slope will be stabilized, and then the natural looks and stability will be brought back. And apart from that, we are also providing atmospheric water generators, which will use the humidity from the atmosphere and generate the water, which can be used for drinking. That is also installed in most of the public facilities like market and Anganawadi, healthcare, football ground, these places. Next. So as a committed government partner, we trying to fulfill all or going beyond what government envisaged for development of or assistance for the disaster hit families. And then we have been selected as accredited agency because our past experience and then collectiveness in serving the society, as well as managing such projects in timely manner. And we are living up to that expectation and then delivering the project. Next. So for us or for our people, it is more than a reconstruction. We are trying to rebuilding the hope, because we are daily engaging with these people, the disaster hit people. Rather than confining that place into a construction area, we welcome them every day. They come, they see what we do. We construct these houses and then facilities, going through about 50 to 60 quality control checks, and people are very happy, because from the day we started excavation, they were there. They were witnessing what we are doing. We never tried to save even a kg of cement. No, because rather than a construction piece, it is somebody's hope and resilience. So though our leadership also, leaving all other job or work, behind this project, and then honoring those lost while building the secure future for survivors. We salute them and thank you.
Thank you so much, Babu sir, for sharing a well-planned, well-thought-of, and well-implemented ULCC's cooperative model. And it's a unique initiative for management and mitigation of climate-induced disasters such as green technology, the research wing dedicated to collaborative research on construction materials, institutional effort to reduce CO2 emissions, and rehabilitation interventions. Thank you so much. Once again, I am very sure that the participants must have taken this presentation very positively. And I hope we'll be getting to know more about your research module in times to come. I would now request the next speakers to please present. Next, we have to travel to Japan, a country that has confronted some of the most severe seismic and climate events in recent modern histories, and those cooperative movement has responded with remarkable depth, structure, and solidarity. Our second keynote speaker is Mr. Akira Kurimoto, Senior Fellow of Japan Cooperative Alliance and former professor at the Institute of Solidarity-Based Society, Hosei University, Tokyo. We will be talking about the different initiatives taken by Japan Cooperative Alliance in the wake of disaster-prone areas in Japan. Over to you, Kurimoto sir. Kurimoto sir, are you there?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Okay, so after the case of Indian Uralunga, that is basically construction cooperative or workers cooperative, but I am concentrating on the consumer cooperative and intercooperation among cooperatives. So I just take the case of earthquake and tsunami. One was in Kobe in 1995. The other one was northern part of Japan in 2011. So first, yes, next slide, please. Okay, so this is a basic idea of phases of natural disasters. First, outbreak of disasters, either earthquake, tsunami, or typhoon, cyclone, or floods. Many kind of disasters we're facing. And the first phase would be rescue phase to save victims' life. And then followed by the rehabilitation phase to help victims to reconstruct life. And then phase come to learn lessons from the experiences of disaster engagements. Then we shall come to be more prepared for the future disasters. And then phase to redesign institutions and physical facilities to be resilient to the future disasters. It includes the law or the government policies, etc. And finally, we shall come to the business continuity planning, BCP, which is now undertaken by the cooperatives. So next slide, please. First was the calamity made in Kobe, the western part of Japan, and there was a great earthquake on January 17th in the early morning, 1995. That was magnitude 7.3, very huge energy had shaken the people, shaken the land and people. And that killed more than 6,000 people, injured 43,000, and destroyed 250 houses. The estimated economic loss was about 10 trillion yen. It's an enormous amount. And Kobe's headquarters, 5 stories headquarters, and all computer system burnt. And there was nothing left. And distribution centers and food plant severely damaged. And 18 stores out of 155 stores and 2 depots amongst 20 depots partly or wholly destroyed, and 11 employees killed, and economic loss estimated to 50 billion Japanese yen. Kobe had operated from that day, selling food and daily necessities like batteries, for instance, or papers, etc. Often and they sell even outdoor because the stores have been damaged, so they have picked up their products from the destroyed stores and put it displayed in the outside the store, and they have sold those products at round price because electricity was cut. So it started, and so on this day, they started the creative reconstruction. That is a slogan put by Coop Kobe. That was the largest consumer cooperatives in Japan and possibly one of three largest consumer corporations in the world. Coop Kobe supplied goods not only to their members but also to the refugee centers set up by Kobe City, the government, based on the agreement of supply in case of emergency. That practice has been copied by many other cooperatives. And Kobe Medical Corp provided health care for victims in the midst of burned area. So please, next slide, please. You can see the photo of where the signboard was on the ground, and people are now moving by bicycles. And on the right hand, you can see the media saying that with a headline, Coop was there to help the stricken area by earthquake. So JCCU, the Japanese Consumers Cooperative Union, and affiliate societies sent 14,000 volunteers, food and fuel, and members donated 2 billion yen to support the victims. And so media recognized the efforts of cooperative with headline, Coop was there to help the victims. Next slide, please. So lessons learned. Agreement for emergency supply of food and necessities concluded with most of the municipalities in every province. That happened after the earthquake. So followed Coop Kobe's case. And the value of members' neighborhood groups were again recognized because we asked the members to form small neighborhood groups called Han groups. There, they know each other in the neighborhood, so they could recognize who are missing in the destroyed houses, so they can find out those trapped victims and then helped by some machines. And dual or backup information system was introduced to increase resilience in case of large-scale destruction. As I've mentioned, in case of Coop Kobe, all the computer data was lost. And of course, all the EDP system had been destroyed. So in the beginning, they felt very large difficulty in bringing back the information system. It took several months. So to avoid such case, dual system or backup system was built in many places. So in case of Kobe, in addition to the information system in Kobe, they have built another system in eastern part of Japan. That had happened in many places. And tabletop exercise started inviting government officers, firemen, suppliers, carers, etc. to prepare for disasters. So those exercise, or so to say, some kind of the preparations have been organized every month or bi-monthly to prepare for the disaster. And then we went to the institution called Kobe, JCCU, then LOSAI, that is insurance cooperative, and Rengo, a trade union congress, campaigned and succeeded to pass the act to rehabilitate victims' life in 1998. The government was reluctant to do so because houses are the private property. They said the government cannot pay the reconstruction of the houses. That is official stance of the government, even now. So this is quite different from Indian case. So we have mobilized public opinion to change that government attitude. And finally, we succeeded to bring about such institutional change so that now the government is paying 3 million yen. Now it is doubled, 6 million yen. Of course, it is too short, too small to rebuild the houses. It will cost 40 million yen or 50 million yen. But even with such small amount of money, those money can help victims to rebuild their houses. So that had done. And in addition to that, the Kobe earthquake had been marked as the beginning of the volunteerism in Japan. It is said Japan is very weak in the volunteering compared with Western nations backed by the Christianity, but many Japanese rushed to Kobe to help people, affected people. So after that, they have also petitioned the government to enact the NPO, Non-Profit Organization Act, was also enacted in 1998 by citizens' initiatives. So both these regulations have been made by the people's initiatives, not government. That is very important. So next slide, please. So now I come to the second case, second event. That was East Japan earthquake and tsunami. Damages. Earthquake was about 2:46 in the afternoon, March 11th, 2011. Magnitude 9. Huge energy had been destroyed. Northeastern part of Japan, killed or lost 22,000 people, destroyed 410,000 houses, damaged infrastructure. Major infrastructure had been destroyed. Estimated economic loss was Japanese yen 16 to 25 trillion. That is comparable to Kobe. In addition to that, Fukushima nuclear power plant caused meltdown due to the tsunami. That caused the most serious accident comparable to Chernobyl in Ukraine, in Eastern Europe. The most serious accident of nuclear power plant in the world. That area is still closed because of contamination by radioactivity. We cannot go in that place, geocenter, epidemic center, and stores and depots of Coop Miyagi, Coop Iwate, Coop Fukushima, and Coop Ibaraki, northeastern part of Japan, damaged. And then reputational damage followed, especially in case of Fukushima. And economic loss was estimated 7.8 trillion yen. Next, please. Next slide, please. So what happened after tsunami? I should say intercooperation. JCCU sent a convoy of 10-ton huge trucks to devastated area on that day. Later, it was highly appreciated by the journalist. The JCC had displayed its professional work to send the materials on that day. So, because just 10 days before the earthquake, Japan JCC had organized some exercise, calling about 100 people to prepare for the earthquake or tsunami. So that is why they could move so rapidly on that day. And consumer corps sent food, necessities, and fuel by their own small trucks, 1.5 trucks for home delivery. That encouraged victims who appreciated solidarity countrywide. So many people had cried looking at the trucks coming from the southern part of Japan. So they felt solidarity. Co members donated 3.5 billion yen to victims. Worldwide cooperators sent 27 million yen. I should mention this. Taiwan alone, Taiwan people donated 20 billion yen, the largest donation from outside. So we appreciate Taiwan people very much. Consumer corps organized campaigns to buy products of the stricken areas, for instance, Sendai Napa cabbage, or Fukushima peach, or Iwate seafood, etc., to help economic rehabilitation through buying them by other area corps. Corps sent volunteers to help farmers to remove contaminated soil in Fukushima. They also provided radiation measurement instruments and respite holidays for children in that area and support for moving because their houses had been destroyed, or they have sent volunteers to help the victims living in the temporary houses. Cooperative insurers such as Zenkyoren, agricultural cooperatives, insurance, and Zenrosai, consumer cooperatives, they paid benefits comparable to insurance companies in addition to voluntary money given to victims. It is amazing considering that this cooperative insurance market share is just 20%, but they have paid almost same amount of money with private companies. That was great contribution to help the victims. So next slide, please. So lessons learned. GCCU started business continuity plans, BCP, since 2011, based on the lessons learned from experiences since 1995, with 5 principles: clearly divided areas, roles of GCCU, stricken area cooperatives, and supporting cooperatives, and shared code of conducts, preparation of emergency goods, and push-based supply. So without any request from the disaster hit area, we should send products and volunteers to that area. Role of communication with stricken corps. So that is very important. And collaboration with local governments, as I've mentioned. BCP is periodically reviewed and updated. Even now, it is updated from time to time. So next, please. Next slide, please. Yes, Ministry of Health and Welfare, that is regulatory government ministry for consumer cooperatives, appreciated consumer corps' efforts to help rehabilitation of stricken area as providing temporary substitute of the government when the governments or committees lost functions, and having comprehensive capacity through a wide range of businesses and activities that had been mentioned in the government policy report, and cooperatives demonstrated their capacity to help people thrive through members' activities and business operations. We know cooperatives and credit unions made great contribution to help rehabilitation process after the Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami 2004. Cooperatives have a great potential to contribute to counter natural disasters induced by global warming. So next slide, please. I've described these events in two papers, 1998 and 2013, in this ICA's review, and the other one is written in the German academic papers. And then Robbie Chills, you may know, he had contributed on the Indian Ocean disaster. So you can take a look these papers. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Kurimoto sir, for those rich insights drawn from Japan cooperative experience. Dear participants, if you have any questions from Kurimoto sir, you can please put them on the chat box. In the question and answer section, we will take them. Thank you so much. And now we move to the third keynote address, which is from the Philippines. I would now request and welcome Ms. Lodias Francia Descon, Project Lead at Philippines Family Farmer Agriculture Fishery Forestry Cooperative Federation. Ms. Dixon brings 39 years of experience in distinguished public service. She now leads the Trias-funded Agri-Coop program focused on inclusive and sustainable family entrepreneurship, as well as she leads the Seagrass project, which is working on creating gender-inclusive resilient action for green grass sustainability, which promotes natural-based solution for coastal climate adaptation, including seagrass habitation protection and sustainable sea cucumber farming in Assamese oriental areas of Philippines. Ms. Dixon, over to you, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope I can be heard clearly.
Yes, ma'am, you're very clear.
Thank you. And thank you. I would like to extend, in behalf of AgriCoop Philippines and our CEO, Jose Romeo Ebron, I would like to extend our thanks for inviting AgriCoop and for listening to the Philippine experience on being in the front lines of climate and disaster resilience. This is really something for me after listening to the first two speakers where you were talking about big ticket programs undertaken by cooperatives in construction, infrastructure, and in post-disaster rehabilitation. Now let's go to changing climate and changing lives, building resilience for the smallholder farmers. So next slide, please. My order of presentation here is we start with an overview of the Philippine climate change and disaster situation, and then the cooperative role in resilience. And then allow me to give a brief introduction of AgriCoop. And these are the actual what we are doing now, the DRRCCA, the PCRSA. I will be explaining these acronyms later. The NBS, or the Nature-Based Solutions Seagrass Project, Cooperative Resilience Mechanism, Climate Smart Agriculture. Okay, next slide, please. So as an overview of the Philippine situation, the climate change situation in the Philippines, I think I've heard earlier before, this is quite similar all over the region. There is a temperature rise. It's 0.6 degrees centigrade. This has been recorded from 1991 to 2020. And this is projected to go up to as high as 4.4 degrees centigrade by 2100 if under the high emission scenarios. Rainfall shifts we are experienced every year. Increased rainfall in Luzon, Visayas, but there is a decreasing trend in Mindanao. The top climate risks are the sea level rise, coastal erosion, stronger typhoons, extreme drought, flooding, and biodiversity loss. As you know, the Philippines is in an archipelagic setting. Okay, next slide. So as to disaster vulnerability, we have the whole menu. We have typhoons, floods, landslides, droughts, earthquakes, and recently these volcanic activity, very active volcanic activity in Luzon and Visayas. And yes, we are now experiencing the harsh El Nino, which is said to be heightened in the months of May to July 2026, where it has already been showing impacting agriculture and resulting to water supply disruption. And there has already been a recorded decline of crop production. So I think in the region of Southeast Asia, you are also experiencing the same situation. But in the case of the Philippines, the socio-economic toll is difficult, especially for the smallholder farmers, because Philippines, as you know, is one of the hardest hit here with the El Nino due to our reliance on rice, which is very water dependent, and the vulnerability of our smallholder farmers. Okay, next slide. So the major challenges faced by the communities, there's high poverty. Poverty in the Philippines is recorded at 35%, so that's about 1/3 of the population are below the poverty level. The poverty threshold here in the Philippines is, if we relate that to US dollars, that's $330 in a month. So about 9.9 million families are in the below the poverty level. We have the geographic isolation, as I had mentioned a while ago. We are in archipelagic setting. We are 7,100 plus islands. So this worsens the impact of flooding and typhoon. Plus the resource limitations like lack of capital, insurance, and technical expertise, as I would say the agriculture sector is largely characterized by smallholder farmers. And there are the social inclusion gaps. Affecting women, indigenous peoples, and fisher folk. Fisher folks are the poorest of the poor, as we would say here in the Philippine setting. Next slide. Next slide, please. So what is the cooperative's role in resilience? The government has seen the critical role of co-ops in addressing climate change because co-ops are the grassroots actors that capacitate in terms of financial, technical, and knowledge support to its members. So the co-ops, through the Cooperative Development Authority, which is the government agency overseeing cooperatives throughout the country, and the federations, of which AgriCoop is one, it's a federation, we complement the national climate policies of government by embedding co-op climate action into the country's climate resilience framework. So for social protection, co-op provides the easier access to funds access, and the mutual aid, strengthening safety nets. So you would see here in the co-ops, the Village Savings Loan Association, which is a mutual aid setup, is very strong and very supportive of local communities. We have market linkages. Cooperatives connect farmers, fisher folks to the markets and the value chains, the inputs and the market outputs. Community empowerment, we have inclusive membership expansion through the cooperatives by including women, indigenous people, and fisher folks into the development arena. And co-ops very recently are strongly pushing nature-based solutions. So we can see that in partnerships in coastal restoration and sustainable aquaculture. Next slide. Next slide, please. As an overview, the economic contributions of cooperatives is quite big. In 2022, assets and finances, co-ops contributed 718 billion in terms of pesos, in terms of total co-op assets. It has generated employment of about 300 plus thousand jobs, and co-ops bring back profits back to the members and community projects. So as of now, we have around almost 10,000 registered cooperatives. About 52% are multi-purpose co-ops, which are lending, savings and credit cooperatives, and only a very small percentage engaged in agriculture. That's about 1,000 plus cooperatives, or about only 11%. Although a lot of the multi-purpose cooperatives are already also engaged in agriculture services. Okay, next slide. So now let me talk about the Philippine family farmers or agri-co-op. Our philosophy is we are an inclusive and resilient agri-fishery forestry cooperatives federation. So we are the only nationwide agri-fishery cooperative. On the secondary level, our members are primary cooperatives. Our mission is we largely deal with capacity building, and our goal is to reach or to impact 3 million lives of family farmers by 2014. Okay, next slide. So as of now, this is the membership of AgriCoop. We are still a very young organization. Only we are still in our 8th year. So as of February 2026, we still have 89 members. So if you can see there in the map, so that is the Philippine archipelago. We have 89 members, primary cooperatives spread throughout the Philippines. On the north, that's Luzon with 20 members. In the middle part, we have 26 members, and in Mindanao, where most of the members are, there are 43 members. Can I just respond? There was a question on the chat box about how AgriCoop was able to generate the assets. Let me just correct it. I was talking about the cooperative sector as a whole. So that is not the asset size of AgriCoop. Just for clarification, thank you. Okay, next slide. So among the interventions, I will be discussing here 5 interventions. The first two, DRRCCA and PCRSA, these are done in partnership with our existing partners in AgriCoop. And yes, also the third, a seagrass project. And then we have the cooperative resilience mechanism, which is a centerpiece now of our climate resilience action and climate smart agriculture. So let me briefly go through each one by one. Next slide. So first we start with the DRRCCA, or the Disaster Risk Reduction Climate Change Adaptation. Actually, this is an awareness building training program which is addressed to our community-based organizations. The disaster risk reduction climate change adaptation, or the DRRCCA training, aims to strengthen farmers, fisher folks so they can meet their basic needs and become more resilient to the effects of disasters and climate change. So this training module increases the farmer members' understanding of climate change. So we introduce there the basic concepts of weather versus climate, the greenhouse effect, the impact of climate change. And this also merges local knowledge and science in identifying and analyzing hazards and impact in the livelihoods. Next slide. Next slide, please. So here, AgriCoop has trained trainers and facilitators to roll out the trainers to member cooperatives. Outputs for this trainer is the community people themselves create the community hazard map. They also come up with a hazard seasonal calendar versus the crop calendar. So we make them aware about synchronizing their planting, for example, or their fishing activities with the seasonal onslaught of disasters. And then the climate change impact chain and the climate change adaptation plan. Now, for the adaptation plan, we teach our participants the 3 steps of adaptation. So we have the first step, which is hazard prevention. So this is more on the disaster risk reduction, the preparedness, by doing the tree or the mangrove planting, for example, and organic farming. The second step would be minimizing exposure. So we also teach our cooperatives the greenhouse farming, or the IDOFs, integrated diversified organic farming. And the third step is decreasing sensitivity by encouraging education and skills enhancement of our community members. So the community participants themselves come up with their own climate change adaptation plan. Okay, next. Next slide. We have also undertaken the participatory coastal resource and socioeconomic assessment. Now, this is in partnership with the academe. So what I would like to say, share with you is our partnership with the Mindanao State University, where we conducted the PCRSA to provide opportunity for key planners and implementers of local government units and member-based organizations. So mainly this is aimed to update information of the state of the coastal resources, to develop the skills in resource and social assessment methods by the community themselves, and to strengthen policy implementation to address concerns in agroforestry and fisheries productivity. Next slide. The PCRSA has 7 components. So there is a bioecological, the hydrology and coastal integrity, water quality, socioeconomics, fisheries and mariculture practices, mangroves and beach forest, and the coral reef. Now, all the findings here are submitted to the local government units and the planners for them to get as inputs to the government or local government plans. The next slides will show the pictures, yes, of how it was being done. So we have the coral reef survey for the bioecological assessment. Next slide. There, we also have the seagrass assessment, which we are also actively doing now to ensure the seagrass cover of our coastal resources. The mangrove and beach forest survey, as you know, the seagrass and the mangroves are one of the very high in carbon sequestration. So there is a lot of mangrove planting and seagrass transplanting, which we are currently doing now with AgriCoop in the coastal areas of Mindanao. Yes. Next, please. So this is this is now the third intervention or the third action which I would like to share, and this is the seagrass project, which is a form of adaptation. This is the first step adaptation through seagrass transplantation and preservation of the sea meadows. The sea meadows of seagrass are very important to our coastal areas because this enhances biodiversity, coastal protection, at the same time enhancing community livelihoods. So this also decreases the sensitivity of communities to the impact of disasters by teaching fisher folks and the community the skills for alternative livelihood, as you would see in the next slide. Next slide. So partnering with the seagrass transplantation would be teaching the community the sea ranch, the sea cucumber ranching or sea cucumber production. Sea cucumbers are very high value commodities. So, and it has significantly declined due to overharvesting, habitat degradation, and the absence of effective stock replenishment. Now, AgriCoop, in partnership with the Mindanao State University, has come up with a methodology of raising sea cucumbers in this setup with what's this? The fish cages. These are ocean nurseries. The sea cucumbers are raised in ocean nurseries. So, and these are very carefully monitored as to their size and also monitoring maintenance and the recording. So the local communities are very well trained. We are training the local communities in the proper scientific approach to raising sea cucumbers. Okay, next slide. For seagrass restoration, okay, this is seagrass meadows are particularly important to the life cycle of our fish, not only the sunfish, but also the fish, as these also serve as a habitat of the fish and also enhance the fishing in the coastal areas of our coastal communities. So trainings are conducted to capacitate the community on the concept of seagrass restorations, and they are taught the protocols for transplanting, for assessing and monitoring. And then we make them aware and understand the concept of seagrass protection and restoration as nature-based solutions. They are being taught and the various methods used in transplanting seagrass, and they learn the protocols in the assessment of seagrass growth and the survival of planted seagrass. Okay, next slide. Next slide, please. Now, this is, as I mentioned, our centerpiece for our co-op, centerpiece for our resilience against the impact of disasters. We have come up with our cooperative resilience mechanism. The Agri-Co-op Federation adopts a climate resiliency mechanism to ensure that all financial services, programs, and institutional operations are responsive to climate risks and contribute to long-term sustainability. So this is a comprehensive integrated program which packages financial services and institutional operations for our member cooperatives. Next slide. Next slide. The objectives here of the cooperative, okay. Can I just talk about the products under CRM? Previous slide, please. No, next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, the cooperatives resilience mechanism products. We have three major products here. So we have the disaster response fund pool, that's product A. This is the scope here is this response to the disaster related proposals of member cooperatives. This fund pool is capitalized through regular contributions from our contributor members, allocations from the CRM funds. This also is capitalized from grants and donations and from plowed back interest income from the fund placements. And the use of the fund for product A or the disaster response fund pool, this is used first for immediate response, which may be in the form of cash assistance to the cooperative members, food, water, essential supplies, and temporary shelter. And this may be used for early recovery, meaning the rehabilitation of the damaged crops and farms and the replacement of agriculture inputs. And this may be also used for resilience building, meaning climate smart agricultural inputs and disaster risk reduction measures. The second product, you can see in the middle, is a CRM agroecology development facility. So these are for three areas, operational areas. These are on production. First, for climate smart agriculture. Second, for agroforestry. And the third, for post disaster recovery and resilience. So we charge the loan funds being accessed under the CRM products are bear only very low interest at ranging from 6 to 9% per annum. The third product is product C, an access to funds to cover renewable energy and infrastructure support facility. So these usually are for renewable energy systems like solar irrigation systems, solar dryers, or cold storage, and also for water management solutions like rainwater harvesting or small-scale irrigation with solar-powered pumps. Next slide. Next slide, please. We also do a lot of extension work and trainings on climate smart agriculture. So we have capacity building and training of cooperatives as agri-extension providers and business development consultants for regenerative agriculture and good agricultural practices and IDOFs. Okay, so that is about the climate action of AgriCoop in the Philippines. These are some pictures which we would like to show of the activities we undertake. And let me end by saying that by strengthening communities and cooperatives, we can transform climate challenges into opportunities for resilience, ensuring that our coasts and people thrive for generations to come. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing those grounded and inspiring lessons from Philippines. The integration of hazard mapping, adaptation plans, skill training, extension activities, gender inclusion, nature-based solutions, and participatory coastal resources and social and economic assessment and CRM products that you have described is truly a model worth scaling across our region. Thank you so much for this insightful presentation. Dear participants, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat box. Ma'am will be answering that from there. And now we move to the last segment of our webinar. I would like to, it is my pleasure actually to welcome our fourth and final keynote speaker, Dr. Sukhpal Singh, Professor, Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. It is one of India's most prestigious management institution, and he has also been a former Director General for the Center of Research in Rural and Industrial Development, Chandigarh. Dr. Singh is a fellow of Indian Society of Agricultural Economics, a visiting fellow at institution including Institute of Development Studies at Success, University of Manchester, and a prolific scholar with approximately 170 research papers, 15 books to his credit. He's currently serving as on the Government of India's Committee on Minimum Support Price and SEBI's Commodity Derivatives Advisory Committee, and has provided research support to FAO, World Bank, Oxfam, and numerous development agencies globally. Dr. Singh will be speaking to us on policy pathways for strengthening cooperative resilience in the wake of climate change-induced disaster. I would warmly welcome Dr. Singh for his presentation. Sir, the floor is yours. You'll be sharing your screen. I'm just stopping my screen sharing. Dr. Sukhpal Singh, sir,
Yeah.
please.
Thank you, Dr. Sinha. Thanks to you and to Shri Iyer for making me part of this uh, webinar. I'm just trying to share the presentation. Let me just allow the share the screen. Am I allowed to? I don't see it here.
Sir, you are allowed. You're a co-host.
Yeah, I think somewhere here it comes now.
In the down bottom, you have share button with the arrow
Yeah,
in green.
I did that, but it's going to system settings. I don't know why.
So if you have any problem, you can mail me the presentation. I have made you the host now.
It says allow Zoom Workplace to share your screen.
Yes,
So,
you just have to
but
click
then
on
it
that.
says open system setting.
So you can just share your presentation to us. Meanwhile, you can orally present your presentation.
So the presentation is open. And
You can present. We will be sharing the presentation later with the participants.
okay, so even if I'm not able to share, I can just speak. Okay.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And sorry for the
That's all right, sir. Completely fine.
trouble. Yes. Okay, so basically, I'm supposed to speak about policy pathways for strengthening cooperative resilience for climate change-induced disasters. Yeah, I think it was a pleasure to listen to friends from other countries talking about uh, natural disasters, also in India from Kerala. But it's also important to bring in agriculture from the Philippines, along with many other projects they are doing. So I think when we are talking about resilience, building resilience among organizations or in an organization, it is about their capability, the capability to organize in different ways, having possible options, structures, and processes that can create positive outcomes, especially in this kind of special situations where people's lives, people's livelihoods are at risk. So, the significance of this kind of approach to building cooperatives lies in promoting adaptive responses and recovery in the face of adversities, which have been talked about, and challenges, even the post recovery challenges are there. So it is about how different players, in our case, cooperatives, build and use such capability in domains to interact with the environment in a way that it positively adjusts and maintains functioning prior to, during, or after the adverse event has happened. Now, I'm saying this because there has been a recent study from Monash University, which looked at India's agriculture sector. It looked at the impact of poor rainfall and increasing temperatures across 10 crops over 51 years across most of India, 563 districts, and found that our understanding of what is climate resilience in terms of crops being grown or other production systems in the agriculture and rural areas, and what is actually happening is very, very insufficient right now. So what is very startling about this research is that it says that whatever crops we considered as climate resilient actually are not so. So it finds that if there is a 20% lower rainfall or 1% increase in temperature, then the two most affected crops, which are grown across large parts of rain-fed India, will be pearl millet and sorghum, not wheat, not rice. That this actually imposes an additional burden on already marginalized areas and communities and farmers. So given this, I think it's very important to look at how do we examine the concept and practice of resilience in the context of cooperatives. So one, when we are talking about resilience, we are talking about positive adaptation during the time of crisis. Second, we are talking about as a mechanism, resilience as a mechanism to maintain stability. And third, it is about learning, growth, efficiency, and competence building, as well as the capacity to bounce back, recovering from setbacks. So when we are talking about collectives like cooperatives, we are saying that if there is a resilience in such entities, then that can also lead to enhanced potential resilience among the individuals who can be members of the cooperatives or non-members. The connection is not direct, but it's possible to look at that kind of resilience being built across households and individuals if we have resilient organizations like cooperatives. Now, why are we talking about cooperatives in this context? Because cooperatives are very relevant here because of the principles they hold, whether it's about democracy or solidarity among members or the principle of cooperation among cooperatives and the concern for the community. These kind of values are not found among private enterprises or even most of the time public sector entities, because these institutions belong to local areas and local people. They are stakeholders institutions. They are more suitable for undertaking any work which is about building resilience of communities and local economies and local systems. And there is evidence to say that cooperatives have a positive impact on their members' climate change adaptation. So whether it is through providing access to markets through cooperatives, for example, TriFed in India is doing it for the tribal communities, where they are buying their minor forest produce at MSP, minimum support price, or it is about National Agricultural Cooperative Federation doing organic products marketing now across many products, or some states in India. Now we were talking about nature-based solutions in the case of Philippines. Some cooperatives, some state governments in India, for example, Gujarat, is promoting exclusive natural farming FPOs, farmer producer organizations, which is nothing but cooperative companies under the Indian Companies Act. So they are also cooperatives other than the traditional cooperatives. So if you see around, similarly, we have some other small initiatives where solar irrigation cooperatives are being set up to save not only groundwater, but also to save fossil fuel-based energy use. Similarly, there are many projects in India in the tribal areas. For example, we have this Fair Trade India project, which is working with tribal coffee producers through their FPOs, which are organized under different local laws to promote better livelihoods as well as sustainability by doing both fair trade as well as organic certified trade. So if you are doing this kind of assessment, then it's very clear that if you have resilient cooperatives, then naturally you can build very resilient communities. And cooperatives, actually, cooperative enterprises can promote local prevention and adaptation practices because there's no one size fits solution for natural disasters because they happen in local contexts, whether it's Kerala or it's parts of Japan or parts of Philippines we talked about. So if you're looking for local solutions, local adaptation and mitigation strategies for any natural hazards or climate related events, then these are the most suitable organizations, whether it's about promoting alternative production practices or promoting alternative livelihoods of farm, non-farm, and so on, or diversifying livelihoods of small producers and workers. Then this is the kind of platform which comes in handy in local areas to work with local communities. They can also link up, the cooperatives can also link up local communities with higher scale public and private institutions. Yeah. So that brings in new networks, new markets, new services to these communities, which individual producers or other kinds of organizations which are not very democratic and accessible in nature cannot bring in. But as I said earlier, there's no one size fits all solution because we are talking about different local contexts. So we have to keep in mind the local biophysical resources, socio-economic context, socio-cultural factors. But this is not to reduce the importance of national policies for managing risks and adaptation through collectives like cooperatives. The additional factor why we should emphasize managing all the risks and issues due to whatever happening around us because of climate change and other natural events is that cooperatives are close to rural people, rather they belong to local people. They can easily come together, scale up at different levels, and therefore they can be very good in providing a rapid, effective, and sustained response to such events and happenings. Yeah. So I also need to highlight, I want to highlight here that when we are saying that cooperatives are more resilient, one of the things we need to recognize here is that cooperative organization or enterprise happens or is organized in situations of market failure, whether absolute or relative, where other forms of enterprises are not able to perform, they don't find it viable, then various stakeholders think of organizing local producers or consumers or workers into cooperatives. So when we are recognizing this uniqueness of cooperatives to do things in situations of market failure, then we need policy support because they will do things which other enterprises will not do. So because of the democratic principles and shared ownership, cooperatives can create a strong sense of community engagement and participatory decision making, which will be more sustainable. So they can also bridge the organizational and societal resilience. Yeah. So they can also lead to many new collectives as part of their growth or offsprings or additional requirements of a particular organization, which may not be able to do all that because of its initial domain, original domain. Now, one very important learning about the cooperative experience is that societies and communities and markets which has larger number of cooperatives are likely to be more resilient in nature. If you have heard of institutional thickness concept and Professor Wavisker fertile grounds literature on cooperatives, then it's shown that if you have a lot of cooperative organization in one given area, then chances of their success become higher because they help each other, they cooperate. We also have principle of cooperation among cooperatives. And when he explained this relative success of milk and sugarcane cooperatives in India, he used this framework to say why these two crops and these two states had more successful cooperation than other parts of India. But we also have examples of disaster-related cooperative performance, for example, in Tamil Nadu or in Sri Lanka or Thailand, where agriculture cooperatives were in the forefront of relief and rehabilitation after the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. So cooperatives have this role. Therefore, I'm arguing that there is plenty of rationale for providing policy support for cooperatives at local, regional, national, and global level. One, because policy environment influences how cooperatives emerge, grow, thrive, sustain, or perform. Because cooperative model can put the power in the hands of people most affected by structural inequalities, including climate change, because climate change doesn't affect everybody equally. So those who are incapacitated because of resource constraints, which are structural many times, whether it's land ownership or it is wage access or access to markets, then cooperatives can do this job of making these people empowered, whether women or marginal communities and others, and make them more prepared to face the disasters or deal with the post-disaster recovery. Cooperatives also operate in a policy environment designed primarily to address the needs of investor-owned corporations. Look at any country. Most of the policies about various large sectors are more to facilitate, or what we say, ease of doing business for such entities and not for people's institutions like cooperatives. And it is also shown with studies that cooperatives are more stable and stay in business longer than non-cooperative entities when they are able to access appropriate financing and technical support through enabling policy mechanisms. So policy becomes very crucial for making cooperatives do their job or play their role in terms of helping people deal with disasters, risk, or other aspects of facing loss of life and livelihoods and recovering from that. So what are some of the policies which are needed for cooperative resilience? One is leveling the playing field. Cooperative sectors are disadvantaged at various levels. Yeah. For example, in India, we have cooperatives which are under different state laws. So depending on the provincial government's approach towards cooperatives, they will support or not support, or cooperative can do certain things or not do certain other things. Yeah. So that is one, that is the policy in terms of providing a playing field which is leveled for cooperatives and non-cooperative enterprises, then that becomes much easier for cooperatives to perform. Second is that if you, as I said earlier, if you have a large number of cooperatives in any underserved markets or sectors, like we keep saying that agriculture and allied activities in India are undermanaged sectors. So if you can have a large number of collectives in this kind of context, then that makes a big difference. For example, Government of India is now looking at expanding the number and reach of cooperatives at primary level in terms of having 2 to 3 times of existing numbers of primary agricultural credit societies, which do many things depending on which part of India you're talking about. Right now, they're only about 0.15 million, but government is looking at taking this number to 0.6 million by 2030. Similarly, if you can enable cooperative to access higher market share in any market, then that brings buy-in from the membership as well as the viability of the cooperative. In many situations, what happens is that cooperatives are not viable, but their members are able to benefit from that. So we should be willing to look at that kind of entity to support it if it is able to do the ultimate job of enabling its members and shareholders and stakeholders to improve their livelihoods, even if cooperative may not be making money, because cooperative by principle are not supposed to make money, but they work for the benefit of their members. We should also be looking at supporting and incentivizing cooperative reach underserved communities. That's very important part, inclusivity, that we have to be inclusive in our approach. If we are looking for more policy support, then we should look at organizing cooperatives in those sectors where people still suffer from poverty, lack of employment, underemployment, and many wage disadvantages. For example, women, generally, there is 30% wage gap between men and women labor. So if we have to really make cooperative meaningful for seeking policy support, then they should proactively seek membership from disadvantaged and marginalized communities. So further, on the resilience driven policies, we should be looking at legislation, how cooperatives can be set up and managed. For example, India did this break from the past that until 2002, we had only traditional cooperative structure under the Cooperative Societies and similar acts. But in 2002, we moved down to another entity, which is called producer companies, which are nothing but cooperative companies. They follow all the principles of cooperation as per ICA, but they are registered under the Corporate Companies Act, and they are free to do any business under the sun. Similarly, Sri Lanka had tried this kind of entities in the early 90s. They had organized a few dozen. But the problem with that approach was that it was promoted by the state or the government. I think India is different from that, because India is not, the state is not involved in promoting these entities, it is supporting from outside by providing financial and other policy support. For example, the government of India has this approach of promoting 10,000 FPOs, farmer producer organizations, which were mostly farmer producer companies. They not only spared a lot of money for their capacity building and enabling their setup and hand-holding for 3 to 5 years, but they also declared income tax holidays for these entities for 5 years, from 2019 to 2024. So this kind of proactive policies can lead to higher numbers of cooperative enterprises, as well as some of them benefit from policy support and becoming viable. Technical assistance and training, I think many of you have mentioned. It's happening in different contexts. In India, one of the major programs now is to computerize primary agricultural credit societies, where the Union Ministry of Cooperation is providing the support. Other major factor, I think, which can help cooperatives in terms of policy support is if there could be preferential procurement from the government. Government buys a lot of things, a lot of goods and services. We saw the case of Kerala, workers cooperative doing a lot of projects. We also have many states in India where the cooperatives, primary cooperatives, are playing a role in procuring food grains and other crops produced for the government of India. So I think that becomes a big help for the cooperatives to manage their working capital and get benefits for the members, which brings in better buy-in from the members. So I think these are some of the ways to, I have just a couple of minutes to conclude. I think when we're looking for ways forward for cooperative resilience, to bring resilience to different communities and sectors, then the policy should support capacity building programs, whether it's about awareness or training or adaptation and mitigation. The state should also invest in cooperative enterprises and the innovations which this sector can undertake as part of the sustainable development agenda. More importantly, I think many times there is this mindset problem that we do not engage, the cooperative sector doesn't engage adequately with the private sector. It is seen more as alternatives rather than as those who can work together. So the policy can also support and incentivize private sector to work with collectives like cooperatives and producer companies, because there are many new channels as part of the value chain framework we are living in now, where private sector is much more connected to the markets and definitely can open up opportunities for cooperatives and such enterprises to help their members benefit from emerging markets. There are many other ways of working with the cooperative. For example, some states of India, not all, but couple of states, whether West Bengal or Tamil Nadu, have even created infrastructure, whether storage or pack houses, or even given on a franchise basis food supermarkets. The state run food supermarkets to these entities to run as franchisees, which has led to huge improvement in their turnover and viability. So instead of state selling through supermarkets, if these kind of entities can be engaged, because they need to get markets for their members produce as well as to get scale, so that helps a lot. Similarly, warehousing. India has a policy on warehousing in the form of a regulation for the last 17 years, 18 years, but somehow it's not moving. Warehouses is where the collectives can keep their members produce and get work loans against that produce and sell whenever they get the best price. But somehow the way it is designed, it is not being of much use to the individual farmers or to their collectives. But there are a lot of reform possible there. It can be incentivized, it can be improved in terms of the farmer benefits and so on. But one caution one need to have here is that I mentioned it briefly earlier. When we get into policy support for cooperatives, sometimes the state goes beyond what is required. For example, I mentioned Sri Lanka case. The state departments start organizing and promoting cooperatives. I think that's not the right way. That's why most of them failed. In India also, we had for the last 5 years, I mentioned, this target of promoting 10,000 collectives with government money. And then you had this particular kind of large scale players, promoters who called CBBOs, cluster-based business organizations, who were given targets to do a few hundred each or a few dozen each. I always say that promoting collective is not about planting trees. So you have to exercise caution here. State should support from outside, but not engage directly in doing this. Lastly, I would like to say that if we are looking at cooperatives in such a light, then maybe the state should also be encouraged to treat cooperatives and such collectives as social enterprises. Because they are not about transactional business, they are about transformational services and activities. So if most of the cooperatives and collectives in developing world are being organized around marginalized small women and other ethnic communities, then it's important that the inclusion and sustainability objectives are attended through the cooperative enterprise by treating them as social enterprises. So I'm done with this. I have done a book recently on India's producer companies and small farmers, performance and impact, which came out in 2024, which has 27 case studies of these entities across India. I also did a small policy brief for IIED London in 2022. How can India's farmer producer companies better serve small scale farmers? I end my talk here. Thank you very much. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Singh sir, for that authoritative and forward-looking policy perspective. The framework you have outlined offers a vital foundation for how cooperatives, government, and developmental agencies can work together to build a resilient world, not only in India but across the Asia Pacific region. I feel. Thank you so much once again. Dear participants, actually, this was the time for the open forum, but we have already exceeded the time by 20 minutes. So I would just request all our participants to please send their mails their questions through mails, and we'll be getting back to all the questions which have been mailed to me. I've already put my mail ID in the chat box. You can please refer to those ID and send your question across. Now I would move to another section of the program. We would like to invite Mr. Kishore Kumar, Vice Chair ICA-AP and Chief Project Coordinator ULCCS India, to share his reflections and issue a call for cooperative climate action in the Asia Pacific region. Mr. Kumar, the floor is for you. The floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Srija. Distinguished speakers, respected cooperative leaders, Professor Dato, Sri Balu Jia, Madhavi Vipradas, and colleagues, cooperators, and participants from across the Asia Pacific region. As we come to the close of today's webinar on cooperative resilience in the face of changing climate, lessons from Asia Pacific, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all our speakers, panelists, and participants for sharing their valuable experiences, insights, and perspectives. Today's discussion has clearly reminded us that the climate change is no longer a distant or future concern. It's an immediate and growing reality affecting communities across our region. floods, cyclones, droughts, displacement, and livelihood losses are become more frequent and severe, particularly across the Asia Pacific region. At the same time, this webinar has powerfully highlighted the critical role of cooperatives in building resilience at the grassroots level. The experiences and case studies shared from different countries demonstrated how cooperatives stand alongside communities during the times of crisis through collective action, mutual support, local leadership, and people centered solutions. Whether through climate smart agriculture, community preparedness initiatives, savings and insurance mechanisms, livelihood diversification, or emergency response efforts, cooperatives continue to prove that resilience is strongest when communities work together. Actually, I noted some major points. That is a key reflection. What the first one is climate resilience must become an integral part of cooperative development strategies and institutional planning. Second point, cooperatives possess unique strengths, trust, local presence, democratic participation, and solidarity that make them effective actors in disaster preparedness and recovery. And third point, community-based solutions are often the most sustainable and impactful, particularly for vulnerable populations. The fourth point, knowledge sharing and regional cooperation are essential to scaling successful practices in innovations across countries and sectors. The final point, climate action must be inclusive, ensuring the active participation and leadership of women and youth. And what are the things we have to carry for? So that there are 5 points I noted here. The first point is strengthening preparedness and risk management. Cooperative must further enhance disaster preparedness and climate risk assessment and resilience building measures within their institutional system and member education program. Promoting regional collaborations in learning. Greater collaborations across the Asia Pacific region is essential to facilitate the exchange of knowledge, best practices, innovations, and successful community led models. The third part, building enabling policy and institutional support. Governments and development partners should recognize cooperative as a key stakeholder in climate adaptation, disaster resilience by providing supportive policies, financial assistance, technical support, and institutional partnership. Fourth point, investing in resilient livelihood and infrastructure. We must collectively invest sustainable livelihood and resilience infrastructure, climate information systems, and access to appropriate technologies, especially for vulnerable and marginalized communities. The last point, empowering youth and women. Young people and women must be empowered as leaders, innovators, and change makers in both cooperatives development and climate action initiatives. Friends, one message clearly emerges from today's discussion. No single institution can address the climate crisis alone. Building resilience requires partnership, solidarity, shared responsibility, and collective action. The cooperative movement grounds in the values of self-help, democracy, equality, equity, and concern for community is uniquely positioned to contribute meaningfully to a more resilient, inclusive, and sustainable future. Let today's webinar not mark the end of our conversation, but rather the beginning of deeper cooperation, stronger partnerships, and concrete action across Asia Pacific region. On behalf of the organization, I once again extend heartfelt thanks to all speakers, participants, and supporting institutions for making this webinar meaningful and successful. We look forward to continued collaboration in strengthening cooperative action and disaster resilience for our communities and future generations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kishore sir, for those inspiring reflections and for the powerful call of action. It is my honor to now invite Professor Datuk Dr. Abdul Rahman Raza Sheikh, Chair of ICA, to deliver the vote of thanks. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Raja Sinha. First of all, on behalf of the organizing committee, to all the distinguished speaker, respected guests who take part and participant, we would like to extend our sincere appreciation to everyone to make this seminar today, and most of them are still in the seminar of the cooperative at the front line of climate and disaster resilience. And it is meaningful to get the perspective from others country, and it's also very meaningful for us to preparedness of this kind of situation. And also we would like to extend to our to appreciate to the regional director, Mr. Baruch Ayer, for supporting on this webinar. And for way forward, we would like to have the active participant as what been today. We come up nearly 50 something above participant, and it shows that every country need to get an idea, and I also get some new idea, especially green cement is something that might be applied to other country, and at the same time it reflects the importance of us to make the addressing the global issue, especially the disaster or the risk or the impact. And today discussion or webinar is remind us that we in cooperative not only thinking about economy of our members or our community, but we also should be strengthened our ideas and get together to know, and it is a very useful knowledge for us. And we hope this idea and it inspire us for get some other way, more collaboration, especially either on seminar or on the research finding for us to get together and bring back to our own country with exchange of knowledge. And I would like to, on behalf of our team, actually Mr. Shokumar and others, we once again thanks for everyone who take part today. And my last word is stay safe, stay resilient, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. And with this, we have come to the end of the webinar. And I am very thankful to all the participants and the experts who have joined us today. It was a long webinar, and thank you for your patience. At the end of the webinar, I would request every one of you to please open your cameras for a group photograph. Please open your cameras so that we can have a group photograph. Every one of you, please. Arun sir, if you could please open your camera. I would request everyone to please open your camera. This will be a memory for us. It was the first event after I have joined ICA-AP in this committee. So I would request everyone to please open your cameras. Thank you so much. Just a second.
Thank you for our panel today. Dr. Professor Shukmal, Professor Akira, Madam Mistos, and Mr. Arun Babu. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you,
We
thank
we
you.
hope to meet
Thank you and bye-bye.
anywhere around this year.
One more thing, as we end, I'll be sharing the feedback forms through mail. I would request every one of you to please share your feedback on the webinar, and I'll be sharing the recordings as well as the presentation of our speakers to all of you. If you have any query, if you want to, since we have dropped the question and answer section, if you have any question, I have put my mail ID in the chat box. So please feel free to mail me, and I'll be getting back to you with all those answers. So we apologize for dropping the question and answer section on open forum, and thank you so much once again for joining. It was a pleasure having all of you, all the participants. I am deeply indebted, and to all the experts, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
ma'am.
much.
Bye bye.
Yep.
Bye bye now.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.